officially start the fireside chat, we'd like first to introduce what Startup Grind is. So basically, we are a community of entrepreneurs, startup founders, developers, technology, startup enthusiasts who gather every month over pizza, beer, and celebrate entrepreneurship. So the mission of Startup Grind is to inspire, educate, and connect entrepreneurs. We are powered by Google for Entrepreneurs, and we are present in over 100 cities worldwide. So that said, this meetup is our 13th 1-3 13th meetup, and next month we're going to feature Peng Ong of Monks Hill Venture. The tentative date is June 19. But anyways, May is an exciting month for us because not only are we celebrating the Manila Startup Week, but we're also celebrating the SG Women's Month. And for that, I'm turning the floor over to Goldie.
Hello, guys. Good evening. All right. Hi. How's everyone doing? Great. All right. So Dustin basically shared to you guys what Startup Grind is. We're happy to be having the 13th meetup since the inception of the Manila chapter. It's great to have you guys here. Personally, I'm very excited. Last week we met our featured speaker. A very inspiring talk, and we're very excited to scale that and share that story to you guys. But now, what is SG Women, right? It was started by the Startup Grind Network last year. And actually, last year, we featured the head of Indinero, Jessica Ma, where she actually put up her office. She's based in the US, and also at an early age, then 24, she set up her next office in Manila. Now is another interesting story, right? We're going to feature a woman who has scaled the GrabTaxi business, putting it in the Philippines. And well, let's try and downplay the best that we can, that she's 23 years old. So, yeah, let's just dive right in. Without further ado, let's all give a warm welcome to me, Miss Natasha Bautista.
Hi. Do I sit down? Do I?
Anywhere you feel comfy. All right. Okay. So, diba? Super awesome stats. Oh, there. Okay. So I
Hello,
need to be in a
hello.
certain angle so there's no feedback. Um, there. So Natasha, we've established that you're 23 years old.
Hi guys.
Yes.
Yes.
Hello.
I'm
Say hi.
turning 24. I'm turning 24.
Yes. Okay. If
Soon.
that makes a few more of us feel any better. But yeah, very inspiring. Last week when I got to meet Natasha for the first time, um, we basically dove right in and asked, how did your Grab taxi story start?
My story or the Grab Taxi story?
You and Grab taxi.
Okay. Oh, my relationship, my 2.5 year relationship with Grab Taxi. Uh, Longest relationship I've ever had. Hey, I'm 23. I'm 23, okay? Okay, so basically, I'll tell you the story of Grab Taxi first. So, Anthony Tan and Hui Ling, the co-founders, two co-founders of then called My Taxi, TEKSI. It's called Taxi. They were in Harvard. They were in their second year, and in school you have business plan competitions, right? So they wanted to join, and Anthony was back in Malaysia, and his his friend goes, "Hey Anthony, what is wrong with your taxi industry? We're in Malaysia." So Malaysia is, I mean, it's not like Philippines, right? Malaysia is one of the richest countries in Asia. So they were like, "Why is your taxi industry so bad?" So I'm not sure. Has anyone been in Malaysia here? Have you guys tried taking a taxi? How is it? Is it okay? It's sucky. Yeah, it is. Especially if you're white, especially if you don't look local. they will ask you double, triple the fare, right? So basically, that's where Anthony had that idea. Ding. Okay, let's fix the taxi industry. So they entered they joined the business plan competition, submitted it, and actually won. So they were the very first Asian team to win the Harvard they they weren't the first. They didn't win they only won the second runner up, but still, it's for me it's like first runner up because for it's first because we are actually like well super known in Harvard now. So the seed money went. Anthony went back to Malaysia instead of wasting his money. He actually set it up, started it, and then he started it in 2011 with coders. So our coders were like Indian developers, and then right beside them were actually drivers. So I want to make it clear that Grab Taxi, so my taxi then, was made for mainly for drivers, not for passengers, mainly for drivers. I want to make it clear that it's a double-sided platform that our customers are not just passengers, it's also our drivers. That is the heart of our product. So they developed it, and actually they developed and planned it for a full year and only launched it in 2012, around July of 2012. And at that time, what was I doing? So I just graduated. 2000, I graduated in Ateneo. Ateneo, woo! Graduated in Ateneo 2012. And then I worked for 3 months in this company, and then I wasn't so happy because I didn't find it fulfilling at all. So I resigned, and I felt like, what is happening? I'm from Ateneo. Diba? They brainwash you, right? The Ateneans there. They brainwash you that if you're an Atenean, right after college, you'll find the best job ever. No, that is not true. So, so I was so like, I felt so lost. And then, but at that time, I was also doing part-time modeling. So what I did was I told myself, okay, I am going to take 1 full year off. I'm going to do full-time modeling so that it will pay for my bills when I travel. So I traveled the whole year of 2012. By the end of 2012, that's when I met Anthony. I met the team, and that's when I started interning in Malaysia. So that's how I met my boyfriend, GrabTaxi. I interned there. So I interned in my taxi for 2 months, late of 2012. And then that's when I felt like, oh my God, this is my calling. I really, really love operations. I really love doing this. I felt a bit stupid doing modeling after a while because you don't really do that much. And then, so that's when I decided, okay, let's stop modeling. And then early 2013, came back and brought Grab Taxi with me. So changed the name from My Taxi to mytaxi.ph to Grab Taxi in 6 months. And then we launched it in July of 2013. Uh, so I really started from the bottom, like from intern to part-time to social media manager to marketing manager to marketing VP to assistant country manager or deputy country manager and now acting country manager, all in 2.5 years.
Awesome stuff, right? Yeah, and that really deserves a round of applause, don't you think?
Thank you.
Yes. Great. Um, in our conversation last week, Natasha also shared that while she was interning, she was handled she handled social media, and was she essentially inherited the page with like 50 likes, right? In a matter of 2 weeks, without any paid advertisements, she was able to multiply that with now 2,000 likes and actual conversions, beyond awareness, right? Actual usage. We'd like to know more about, what is your process, right, into coming up with these things that help you growth hack the product and actually really add value to the business.
Um, I'm not sure if you guys have watched the movie of Ann Curtis when she goes, "I am the market." So I see some people laughing. Some people probably hasn't seen it, but I feel like I am the market. I took, I started taking taxis also before. I hated it. I didn't like that. I didn't feel safe at all. That I would text, I would text the plate number or write it in my BBM. And at that time, BBM. And so that's how I feel like I connect, and that's how I feel like I was able to properly market Grab Taxi, is because I understand the needs of the passengers. I understand the needs of the passengers. I understand what they want and when they need when what they want when they need it.
So it's really awesome stuff, and Natasha also shared the basically the stats of Grab Taxi now, but I'll allow her to share that. Right, it was like really crazy. Five bookings a day initially, and now we have.
Okay, so Grab Taxi is the number one transport app in Southeast Asia. Okay, why number one, right? So, okay, the stats are we are constantly number one in the App Store and Play Store. Always on top compared to our competitors. Ever since we never lost that spot. We have over 4.4 million app downloads. We have around 68,000 taxi drivers. And every second, we have 7 bookings happening. So that's 14 bookings, 21 bookings. So
Yeah.
every second, 7 bookings.
So pretty awesome stats for a startup that started not too long ago. Um, Other things that Dustin and I like were just so amazed by was when we visited Natasha in their office. There were just like a slur of drivers wanting to be part of the Grab Taxi network, and there were the it's a good problem, right? The office was just really so hustling and bustling. There were just so many people, and in fact, they're expanding already. And it brought me to what you shared about when you guys started it out. It was literally, that whole garage concept. I want like to share that more, and like how you went through that journey of training and CS and all these different things, and how that actually added value to how you guys are now.
Okay, I guess this also really helps for startups because we're all in this together. I also experienced that. So when I was interning in Malaysia, we only had those plastic chairs, plastic tables, monoblock chairs, and I would make sure to set my alarms super early so that I get in the office super early so that I have a seat. That's how bad it was. Because and then there was this one time that I was late. At that time, my boyfriend was also late. Kasi. And then, and then we were there. I arrived not. I wasn't even late. I arrived like on time. I didn't have a seat, so I had to stand up for like a few minutes. I looked for a chair outside. So that's like startup style, right? And then even in Philippines, our first for the first 2 months, I think I'm sure a lot of you know this feeling. Our office was actually in a coffee shop. So first 2 months, coffee shop. And then even after that, like I said, I started out as marketing. No, I started out as everything. So, I did so the very first batch of drivers I think first 300 drivers that we got in that we acquired that we registered in Grab Taxi. I did the sales, so meaning pitching to their taxi operators at 3 a.m. in the morning. So imagine like I had to wear like tomboy pants and like hoodies because it was so scary going to these taxi operators. And then I literally had to be like, okay, I have to be like ghetto also. And then I did also training. So I was one of the 5 people. So we have 5 directors here in 5 board members here in Philippines, including myself. But all 4 actually are foreigners. So I was the only local person. So I can speak pure Filipino, just saying. So I was the only one who could speak Filipino. So I did the training to the drivers myself. I did everything. I did sales. I did training. I did procurement, so buying of tables and chairs and the aircon. I even did customer service for 2 months, and oh my goodness, it is so difficult to do customer service. So yeah, I did everything, every role in the company right now. There's 170 people under me. Every role there, I know how it feels like. Because I've been there, and it really helped that I started from the bottom up, because that's how you really understand your people.
And speaking of hoodies and that phase in your life, um, I remember you sharing some tips and realizations also about being a woman and leveraging that for business development. Can you probably share more about that?
So I want to share not just like being a woman, but also like there's some hurdles in life that you just have to admit. It is a hurdle. It is a hurdle. So for me, it was number one. I started in when I started interning, I was 20 years old. I think I was around 20 years old. So number one was my age. Number two, I was a model. So it's not that, a lot of people judge you based on that. So they actually think that you can't do anything, which is kind of sad. And the third is that, woman, because especially in the tech industry, right? Most of the people in the tech industry are guys. So those three hurdles for me were not, it wasn't tough. It was tough, but I think some tips would be: number one is accept it. Accept that you have that hurdle. But number two, either don't let it affect you, or let it affect you in a way that it would push you to do so much more. So for me, my motivation, like I shared, is I love proving people wrong. So that was my motivation. I prove people wrong, and that's why I'm like, oh, now I'm here. I'm like, ha, that's why. And I think the last one also is make it actually a strength. So for me, being a woman in this industry, I made it a strength, because at that time, out of the five, four were guys, and I was the only girl, and I made it a strength because then I was the only one who understood what women really want, what women really need, right? So I made it, I made it into something more positive. That's probably why, like, in the first year of the launch of GrabTaxi, it's more really focused on safety, women. That's probably because of me. So yeah, so make it in a strength if you can, and I think that's how I was able to surpass that.
That's great. And I think my boss is here. Hi, Diane. Yeah, I'm just wanted to share that we met Anthony, who's the founder of Grab, last year, and then that's exactly what he's saying. Even in the demographic now, 80% of your market's actually women. So it's really that safety thing that that's the USP basically. But then you also said 170 employees, right? And I remember this really gripping thing you said, because I see that a lot in friends and entrepreneurs who struggle with this proverbial question: who is the right person to hire in a startup that has ambitious goals? For you, how did you, what was your decision process in hiring, the right set of 170 people running Grab?
Okay, so whenever I hire, I always look at a few things, but the very first thing that I look at is culture. So I was sharing to some of the guys there. Our culture in Grab is, when you look at my office, you actually really wouldn't know where I would sit. We don't believe in corner offices, your own room, your own special desk. We don't have that. So it's really startup style. I'm right beside everyone. We can just like scream at each other in a good way. And we would have our meeting rooms and all that, but we don't believe in that kind of culture that, oh, yun yung boss. So I also don't believe in, ma'am and sir. Even like for me, I find it very awkward there. Like, ma'am, Tasha, no, please don't. So the one thing that I really look at is culture. I feel like once you're in the family, it's very difficult to find someone who belongs in the family. We call it the grab family. So a few things that I look at is culture. at is, are you bossy? What kind of leader are you? How do you motivate your teammates? Are you or a boss? Um, and then the secondary is obviously skill. Secondary is skill. In fact, most of my good hires are fresh grads. Why? Because it's probably because of how GrabTaxi is, because we're so different compared to the multinational FMCG companies, the big companies. It's probably because we're so different that we want to be able to shape already that person, rather that it's so difficult because if like you find someone who's already like super into who's already molded, it's difficult to mold them back to the culture that we want. So like our one of our department heads also, she's 21 years old. So 21 years old. One of my good hires who's now a senior graphic designer, also fresh grad. So yeah.
So probably an open mind, yeah, is like what one of the things that you're looking for at Grab. Probably let's try and flip it around. What advice would you like to give for people out there um, who are keen on starting up or actually want to work for a startup? Like, what good persona or character should that person have to be actually attractive to, a startup with C-level funding?
Well, we are hiring, so um, for me, I always, especially for startups, I always look for someone who can think on their own, because naman in startups, it's so difficult to like hold the hands of every person. So being able to think on your own. So it's because there for me, there's like two kinds of people, right? One would be those who follow the rules, follow the system, and second who would defy it or improve it or suggest some things. I always look for the second one, just because of the startup style. So it's I'm not saying that it is what you should that everyone should look for. But for me specifically, for Grab Taxi, specifically for this kind of startup, I look for people who can think on their own, who has initiative, who is able to disrupt. So like what Anthony keeps saying, who it's like a popular line now is like disrupt or be disrupted, right? So that's what actually we're doing. So just to share, people are wondering. If I may ask, are some of you guys know about Grab cars? Some of you guys, yes, I'll give you a promo code. Just kidding. so so some of you are asking, why did you launch Grab car? It's like it's shooting yourself in the foot, right? Is that do you guys ask that? Like, because like if you're launching Grab car, then you're competing against your own, which is Grab Taxi. It doesn't make sense. Well, for us, we'd rather be our own enemy than have a different enemy. We'd rather eat our own cake than have someone else eat our cake.
In technology management, we learn that as managers' willingness to cannibalize, no? But yeah, going back to the Grab business, we understand that there are different categories now. You're number one in the taxi booking segment. What do you think makes you the leader in the Philippine market for that segment?
I think, like I mentioned also to the other group, localize. So being able to localize. If you notice if you in all our, so we operate in 6 countries, 20 cities. In every country and every city, we have a local team, we have local operations, local campaigns. So even it's actually quite difficult in Philippines because every city is like a different country, because we have Cebu, Davao, Iloilo. Gonna launch another city soon, so watch out. But it's difficult. It's different language, different culture. Even the media is so different from one city to another. It's crazy. So I always have to make sure that I speak to the media and be there for like a week before the launch, just to make sure I don't step on anyone's foot. So yeah, it's really localizing, because like again, based on my experience, it's really understanding your market, knowing what they want, when they want it, how they want it. And yeah, I feel like that's our strength. We do have, we admit that, we do have competition out there. They're probably bigger, but doesn't mean they're better. So it's really just better execution now.
So I'm going to throw in my last questions. I hope you guys have questions of your own because we're going to open the floor. But yeah, probably because when I was asking Natasha last week, what are we going to expect next from Grab, and when she answered that, I was like really excited as a consumer too. So yes, please do share.
So we actually want to. So our name is GrabTaxi, right? We want to drop it and just retain Grab. Grab is changing the way people move, and that's it. So grabbing people, things, services, just grabbing. That's what I can't tell you exactly because I would have to make sure that you all sign an NDA. But that's basically the goal of Grab right now, and obviously market share. We want to be number one and maintain our number one spot forever.
Secret pala yun, Dustin. Okay, so um, does anyone in the group wanna ask Natasha a question about Grab, about the business, about you know career advice?
Thanks very much. My name's Raj. I was wondering what the administrative um, requirements would have been legally for you to set up a Grab Taxi here in Manila or in the Philippines.
So we're actually mostly Filipino owned. So that's because we discussed with our lawyers. So we are 60% Filipino owned. We have all the permits and licenses needed to operate in Philippines. So it's actually like a Filipino company. Yeah.
Anyone else from the group wanna ask anything?
That's tough. That's like a beauty queen question. So number one, our number one competitor is the hand. So we call this the hand because this is healing. That is our number one our competition right now. We want to chop the hand. That is actually our theme. Chop the hand. Good answer, right? Good answer. Um, so yeah, just to expand on that, like we do know that there are so many rides out there, but we want to make it a habit that the first thing that you think about when you need to to book either a cab or a car or whatever that is to take out your phone and use Grab. We want to chop the hand. That has always been our number one goal since we launched here and in everywhere in Southeast Asia. Number two, what is one thing that I believe in that not everyone believes in? Any topic in particular? That's quite tough. Hmm. Can I get back to you on that? I'll think about it. I'll think about it.
Anyone else who has questions?
Quite stretch. Hello there.
Hi there.
Um, so, with such an impressive kind of resume that you're building, how do you feel personally about the change in the roles? I mean, how do you keep your confidence levels up? Because it's not experience, right? It's something else. So, what's that something else?
Okay. To be honest, I was just telling the guys, I usually don't do talks because, in the beginning of the talks, they give you the introduction, okay, this person from this school and this masters and this, from the states and all that. And I don't have that, right? I don't have that. But I feel like it's really, I am able to, I guess I'm just able to execute. I've been employee number 10 probably in the whole Grab Taxi Regional, employee number 1 here in Philippines, and um, like not to boast or anything, but I feel like I did a good job in launching Grab Taxi and Grab Car and X and Y and Z. And but on top of that, I feel like my modeling experience really helped me. So I started modeling when I was second year college, like professional modeling in second year college, but did full time in the year 2012. And I feel like because of that, I am able to stand up in front of or sit down in front of everyone, to talk in front of media. I'm able to have that confidence that I probably would have never had. Especially, I was such an awkward kid. I was such an awkward kid before. I had like pimples everywhere, and I was like so tall, and I didn't know how to dress up. So yeah, that's probably it.
Hi. Were you surprised at the level and the speed of the success of Grab?
Yes. I mean, yes. Until now, it's very humbling. It's a very humbling experience. I never, like, first personally, I never would have thought to be part of this because, coming from like such a glamorous industry, modeling and then to taxis, right? It's so weird, right? Um, on a personal note, it's very overwhelming. And in terms of like Grab Taxi, also, like in 14 months, we were able to get $340 million worth of investments. That's huge, right? It is overwhelming, but I feel like that's because of the team. And that's why, I really want to emphasize on hiring, because if you actually, if you're lucky enough to be in the office or to meet, our founders and our senior management, we all have the same kind of culture. We all believe in the same things. And I think because of our leaders, because of how the leaders treat us and their beliefs, it really trickles down to the very bottom.
Okay. Hello, Natasha. Thank you for joining us, and of course, congratulations on all of your success. Uh, it's somewhat serious, but in the topic of gender diversity in the workplace, of you being here is of course a triumph of that. But as I know nothing of your experiences, but of course, how do you think it could be better with, in particular, the tech industry, the gender gap? Because as you probably understand, the gap between male and female is pretty wide. So how do you think that so far that can be improved?
Like I said, I actually made, like, because I'm a woman, I made it into something positive. So if I can share some experience with you, when in the very first, so it actually took us 2 full months to get our very first fleet. So I remember the very first time that we did training. It was Feb 14th, Valentine's Day, 2013. The first, so we started, I started Jan 6, so particular. So Jan 6, 2013 to Feb 14, 2013, we were just doing pitches. We were going from one fleet to another. If you guys are not aware, taxi operators, they're open you have to be there by from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. That's where when they operate. So we would go there from 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. and you would not believe how difficult it is to talk to taxi operators. These taxi operators are just very stubborn. Some of them are very, like they don't believe in tech. We had that, the taxi drivers won't be able to afford it. uh passengers won't believe in it, it's too high tech and all that. um and that's actually where I came in. So they I it's kind of bad to say this, but my four teammates used me to get meetings. So they were like, Natasha, can you put red lipstick on? I'm like, okay, fine. So, um, like for me, yeah, it's kind of weird that they would use me in that way and that I would let them. But I think what's more important is you once you're there, once you're in, you have to make sure that you're able to execute. So that for me is more important because once you're already there, once they've used you, it's even much worse if you're just if you're just a model, if you're just a dummy, that is much worse. So yeah, it's like so using using your strength, but being able to sorry yeah, using your strengths but being able to execute after that. In the beginning or now? Okay. So in the beginning, our senior management, so we had around, let's say around 10. Out of 10, 8 were guys. Sorry, 9 were guys, 1 girl. That was me. Now we have 8 girls, 2 guys. I I I don't know why. I think it really helps because yeah, because our market really is like women. So if you can I mean it's not that we're being biased. It's more on the needs, right, of the company. So if you take a look if you go to our office, our marketing team, so we don't call it marketing team, we call it passenger experience because we believe that everyone should be marketeers. Our passenger experience team, because they're more in passengers events and all that, they're women mostly women. But our sales and operations, because they do the training to the drivers, they're the kuyas of the drivers, they're mostly men. No specific company. But obviously we like I said, Grab is what we want to do is to change the way people move. So there's a lot of it's super. I mean, it's too wide, right? So as long as it's there, it's being able to move, people, things, services, experiences. Then we'll look into it as long as there's a need, as long as we feel like we are able to do it, then we probably would.
What has been the feedback of the taxi drivers and the operator pre Grab Taxi and now? What now that they've joined Grab Taxi?
So for taxi drivers, a lot of them were like, we don't, they didn't, they couldn't pay for the phones until now. Actually, they couldn't pay for the phones. That they don't understand it. Taxi operators would say that it's useless. Like why there's no need for it. They just basically didn't believe in it. I could say, out of that 2 months from Jan 6th to Feb 14th, I probably met up with at least 30 taxi operators, and only one was open to it. No, wasn't even like yes, was only one was open to it. Now we don't even go to their garage; they go to us. So the drivers see the benefit of it. Before they would join for the sake of just getting a smartphone. Um, that's it. To be honest, like our activation rate was so low, it was so bad. Our drivers would get the phones and then they would just delete the app. Actually, they wouldn't be able to delete the app because they wouldn't know how to do it. It was, and like, even how like with your phone when it does this, what is that, it's locked, right? So whenever the phone does that, they would panic. They'd be like, "Hindi sira na yung phone. It doesn't work." So they're like, "Kuya, it's just unlock. It's just lock and unlock." So yeah. So now they see the benefit of it. Especially the drivers talk. They really talk. And they're so proud. They wear their shirts. We have VIP drivers, and then it says they're VIP driver. So they go out. They really go out, and then and then they even show their phones, because their phones also have the wallet, the electronic wallet. So they could actually also compare, oh, ako 10,000 pesos na ako, ikaw 5,000 lang. So because of that, they would market it for us. Okay. So yeah, they would go to our office. They would actually buy the phones now for the sake of Grab, and not just the smartphone. Taxi operators see the benefit of it because it would help them monitor their drivers. So yeah, it's a huge change. It's a huge improvement from 2.5 years ago.
What are Grab's plans for the transportation industry? Do you have any other? You mentioned Grab van. Like, I mean, do you have anything to say about that?
Possibly Grab van. So we have Grab Taxi, we have Grab Car. In Vietnam we have Grab Bike. So that's pretty awesome, right? So maybe we can do Grab Jeep or Grab Trike. So for us, as yun nga, as long as there is a need for it, we will go into it. We're thinking of maybe doing for tourists, then maybe Grab van. If you want to do what deliveries, food also services. I was saying like Grab maid, Grab driver. So again, I can't really say anything specifically, but as long as there is a need, we probably would look into it.
Um, how do you handle exactly passengers' complaints against these stubborn drivers?
Oh goodness. Have you guys heard about that? It went viral in Facebook, and then I wrote a letter, a long letter. So we do have. It's really sad because it's always like the media always highlights passengers being the victims, but it's actually drivers who are the victims. So if I may share, because I find it very sad, like I'm very like personally affected by this, that actually last week we had two incidents that the passenger posted on social media that the driver drugged them. And then so obviously we take this seriously. Two incidents. Took this seriously. We did a full investigation. Really, went with the passenger to go to the hospital, had the driver do a drug test, did a full investigation in the car, everything, and we found that the driver was innocent. And like it's really sad because a lot of the drivers are now complaining to us because passengers would post the photo of the driver in social media, and it would spread, right? It would be like what, 10,000 shares, 50,000 shares. So the drivers would be like, ma'am, ano ba yan? Like like these drivers are innocent. Like what, if you have any complaint, please tell us. Please email to us, and not have all these like wrong claims. So yeah, basically to your question, we treat both our customers, both sides, the passenger side and the driver side, fairly. Not a lot of people know that we also suspend passengers, so we also do that. The drivers, they have a code of conduct, so whenever they do something, they get suspended for 5 days, 1 week, and then three strikes you're out. Even for passengers, we also have that suspension. Whenever passengers cancel, let's say, it's such a waste for the driver, right? We also investigate and we suspend these passengers.
Okay, hi. I was one of your like customers even before. Like I sent customer emails to your support. I don't know if you were the one to answer them before, but I really value how in startups you want your users to email you about the issue. So the question earlier was really relevant. But my question is, being in a regional startup brand, what's a challenge in the that's unique to the Philippines compared to the other countries?
Drivers not being able to afford phones. The only country out of the six countries that we do microfinance. So in the beginning, what we did was we actually bought the phones. So the very first taxi operator, the taxi operator bought like 50%, the 50% of the cost they board, and then they for us we also got the 50% for everything, expenses and even income. So but then it didn't work. So now we do microfinance. We actually microfinance it ourselves. The drivers have to pay for their phones for 10 to 12 months, and they pay it every day to until they are able to fully pay their phones.
Um, so several weeks back, there was that LTFRB regulation that first in the world allowed ride sharing. Um, Not to pry too much into specific stats, but can you at least give us a semblance of how that's affected the ride sharing segment of your business?
It's actually not affected us because ever since the beginning, we've always been BFFs with the government. We've always been compliant. So when we before we even launched, we've already approached LTFRB, asked if this is okay, all that, and they were like, all okay. So with Grab Taxi, no issue. And then we launched Grab Car in last year, May of 2014, and then when we launched GrabCard, it was all with franchise. So we actually partnered with a fleet, Click Car Rental Service, and they were partners. So all our cars were with franchise. We didn't have any issue. So when that news in November, that news came about the LTFRB captured one of our competitors' vehicles. um we were we were not affected. We weren't even scared at all because everything that we do is legal. um and then that whole, the memorandum circular, the draft, or the department order on the TNCs, the transport network companies. So that's what we're called now, transport network companies. They drafted it around Jan and Feb, and we were able to get the drafts, and that's actually how we got the drafts, and we pattern everything based on that, our operations of GrabCar, because now our GrabCar is also the P2P model. We have the P2P model, and we also still partner with Click. So yeah, so it really hasn't affected us much. In fact, a lot of our peers, our partners who have cars, really like us because of our image, which is we are never against government. We are never, we're not illegal and all that. So it's actually good for us. It's okay. I love Lasal. I think so. Based on my experience, I'm not sure about the other Ateneans, but based on my experience, Ateneo really brainwashed me into going to multinational companies, multinational FMCG. So I won't say the names of the company specifically, but that's basically what they want you, like they want you to go there, or like in talks they always talk about those. And I think that's for me, if I compare with my block, so I have like 30 blockmates. I think everyone there really applied for FMCG, and even I did. So I wouldn't know if I had applied to these companies and I got in. I wouldn't know what I would be doing. If I would be more successful or not. I'm really not sure. But I think just to share, the startup experience really is amazing because again, it really depends on how you are, because you wouldn't survive in a startup if you want to just follow, if you want to just if you want to just be a robot and be like, okay, give me instructions, I do it. You have to make the instructions yourself, right? So that's the type of person I am. And because of that, after 1 month worth of work, of job in grab taxi, I feel like, I'm not sure, I feel like I can learn that in like 2 years in a other company. I'm not sure, but that's how I feel. I feel like, it's been 2.5 years in grab taxi, and I've learned so much. And that's probably like how why I speak like this, why I dress like this, is probably because I've learned so much more in Grab Taxi compared to what I was learning in my previous company before this.
Questions?
I think for me, what really helped was traveling. So before, so the very first time I actually went traveled outside of Philippines was 2012. Before that, and when I did, I really was, it wasn't glamorous. It was uncomfortable because you have to speak to certain people that you don't understand, or you don't like. I always, especially like in Malaysia, so that was my very first country, Malaysia. I'd always ask, huh? Because I didn't understand their accent. Like, huh? And it was so embarrassing because they'd always think I'm Chinese. So they talk so embarrassing about if you're like, sorry, I can't speak Chinese. So it's really not. It's. I feel for me, it's really try to not be comfortable. Try to not be comfortable and try to just go out of your comfort zone so that you know what you want. If I can share, I was doing an interview with I conducted an interview, one guy who's actually my batchmate, um and like his CV, I was pretty shocked because his CV was like he already did his masters, he had like three other companies prior to his masters. And when I asked him, I was like, do you know what you want to do? I was like, okay, we have all these fields in Grab, like we have operations, sales, marketing, all that. I was like, do you know what you want to do? And he was like, uh, no. He's like, no, I'm actually not so sure. So yeah, like I think you wouldn't know what you wanted to do if you didn't try. For me, again, based on my Ateneo experience, most of my, because I'm management there. Where you say what's that face? um, based on, so I'm my course is BS management, management lang, no other extension. BS management. Not ME. I'm sorry to disappoint. I'm BS management, and most of my blockmates would go for marketing. For some reason, they'd always go for marketing. And for me, I was always like, okay, I do marketing, and then whenever I'd apply, I'll always go for marketing. But little did I know that yeah, I was good at marketing, but I actually really loved operations. And I probably wouldn't have known that if I didn't try out all these different things, which again really helped that I started from the bottom. And I think also coming from like if you especially if you graduate in all these schools, you would always think that parang, oh, I don't want to do this certain job or I don't want to do flyering. I'm from this school, right? No, please do it because that's when you really learn. Like I said, I started from the bottom. I did everything. I did customer service, and that's when I actually really learned a lot, and that's what helped me become who I am, and that's what helped me lead 170 people under me because I do understand what they're going through.
Natasha, how different is the customers you have in Grab Taxi as compared to Grab Car? And second question, what were the lessons that you've learned implementing Grab Taxi that you carried forward when you launched Grab Car?
I think so. Difference of Grab Taxi and Grab. Actually, we do have a lot of overlap. So some Grab Taxi also use Grab Car. Especially pricing is almost the same. Actually, it depends. Pricing is sometimes cheaper with Grab Car or sometimes more expensive with Grab Taxi. Depends on the time. So there is what I noticed in terms of stats. Just to give you stats, we have much more in terms of total users. We have more in taxi. Compare apples to apples. So let's say 4 months of Grab Taxi and 4 months of Grab Car. Total number of users for Grab Taxi is so much more compared to Grab Car, but frequency of usage is so much more in Grab Car than Grab Taxi. And then here's second question: lessons learned, plan properly. I think that's what we did wrong with Grab. That's one of our biggest mistake with Grab Taxi was we didn't plan because we had competitors out there. We had to just execute. No more planning, just execute, just do it. Right? That's usually the case because it's very time sensitive. So very personal story. The 70 pesos booking fee, that is a huge mistake for me. Um, when we were talking about pricing, the five board members, they were pushing for 70 pesos. I was pushing for 40 to 50 pesos. And then, syempre, they're like, from they're rich kids, they didn't live here, and they were like, what's the difference of 20 pesos? I'm like, that's a lot. And they didn't take taxis, but I think that time, that was probably the time that I was like shy. I didn't believe in myself. The two of them, the two of those guys were in Harvard. They probably know much better. That's why I'm execution. If you know it, then if you believe in it, then just push it. So yeah, it's really planning. So I feel like that's one of the many examples like pricing. So we were able to properly plan not just pricing but also how we do things, operations, our partnerships. We were able to plan properly with GrabCar.
Any more questions?
The 68,000 drivers that you say you have now, am I right? Is it for Philippines?
Did I say 68,000?
You
It's
did.
actually 84,000.
84. I'm sorry.
Yes,
Okay.
84
That's
84,000
congratulations.
drivers in Southeast Asia.
Okay. Oh, in Southeast Asia.
Yes.
And in the Philippines?
Can't
Oh,
say.
okay. I'm sorry. All right.
Can't say. I'm sorry.
So of the drivers that you have, what would you say is the percentage that in fact contributes from their take towards Grab taxi revenues?
Um, so let's
So
say just in Metro Manila, I could say that one out of two taxi drivers are part of the Grab taxi system already. In terms of the number of rides, might be too confidential to say
okay, I
also.
understand. I understand. Thanks very much.
Last question.
24 in a few months. I don't know. I really love my job. It's very fulfilling. It's very stressful, but it's very fulfilling. I don't see I probably would, I don't know, because I'm not like my experience, in 2012 when I was training. I'm not closing my doors. So I really wouldn't know. I'm very excited to know also myself. But I do enjoy doing this. I do enjoy changing the way people move. I enjoy hearing, all these comments from drivers. I enjoy being able to contribute to change in Philippines and Southeast Asia. And hopefully the next thing I do, after Grab Taxi is also something similar.
Is there a special startup grind voucher for us?
To be honest, we still have so much promo codes out there that you can just use it. So Man- Manila. So Grab Taxi, it's just Manila. Manila promo code. Grab Car, Grab Car. Grab Car Plus, GC Plus. Um, GC Plus. Um, but what we can do is the next it's a weird business talk. The next time around, no, the next time around we can do because we can do promo codes that are tied to kunwari A space. We did it before with Matt, right? So what we can do is if you're going to A space or you're coming from A space, it can actually detect it, and then you can put like startup grind as too long, S grind, something like that, and then it would automatically give you a discount. So let's discuss the details later
And with
on.
that, thank you, Natasha.
Thank you.
Thank you. So we have still 34 minutes before A Space kicks us out. We can use it for networking,